I do struggle with depression and anxiety, but one thing I no longer struggle with is smoking. I started smoking when I was in high school, and I think that's about the same time I had my first serious depression. And I just felt like I couldn't get through anything without cigarettes. I mean, sometimes the anxiety was so bad that I felt like I was going to crawl out of my skin, or I felt so depressed that the only thing that got me out of bed was going outside to smoke. I just didn't feel like I could get through the day without my cigarettes. But then there's the hassle and the expense and the dirty looks that I would get every time I would go outside to smoke. So I did try to quit several times, but I always kept an emergency cigarette in my closet. And when I would have really serious cravings, I would cave in and go to that emergency cigarette. But then my mom had a heart attack. She had smoked all her life, but after that she quit using Chantix and help from a quit smoking counselor at the hospital. I never in a million years thought that my mom would quit smoking. She had the same issues with depression and anxiety that I do, but she did it. And that gave me hope that I could quit too. I talked to my therapist about it, about how I really wanted to quit, but how I was scared about what would happen when I quit. He reminded me that I got anxious and depressed even when I was smoking. Cigarettes didn't stop that from happening. In fact, he reminded me that sometimes cigarettes made me anxious when I smoked too many, or I would get anxious about running out of cigarettes, especially if I didn't have enough money to buy more. He thought that if I could get through those first few weeks of withdrawal when my mood would be the worst, that I would be okay. And he also felt that I could develop some new coping skills to deal with quitting smoking. So he encouraged me to make an appointment with a psychiatrist to get some medications to help me. I got Chantix from my psychiatrist. She said it was safe to use even with my depression. She just wanted to check in with me 1 week after my quit date to make sure that everything was okay. And then I went back to my therapist to make a plan for quitting and coming up with some other activities when I felt cravings, like calling my mom or a friend, or playing a game on my phone, or deep breathing. I actually began the deep breathing before I even quit, just to make sure I could do it. My quit day came, but I couldn't quit that day. I wasn't able to throw away my cigarettes, especially my emergency cigarette, and my ashtrays and my lighters. It was just too overwhelming. But I called my mom, and she convinced me that I could do it. So that night, I smoked the rest of my cigarettes. And then the next morning, I threw everything away, and I did not smoke. And I went day by day for a long time. And sure, there were a couple times when I just had to give in and have a cigarette because I really felt the cravings, but it didn't make me feel any better. In fact, it actually made me feel worse. So now it has been over 4 months since I've had a cigarette, and I feel pretty great about that. So what's my advice? If you're worried or scared about quitting, talk to someone. Talk to a therapist or a family member or a friend, because that'll get you through it. And then you'll see that you can actually quit smoking without becoming too depressed. I know that the Chantix and talking to my therapist really helped me quit smoking, and I didn't feel too miserable. I was able to do it, and I feel pretty good about that.